Well, if there can be no arrangement, then we are at an impasse.
I'm afraid so. I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brains.
You're that smart.
Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes?
Morons.
Really?
Welcome to Morons Mince
Movie.
I am your host, Moron Sam Munoz, and I'm here with my fellow morons, Ublester Peñalosa II, and Akam. He may not be the real Arturo. And today, we are talking about Joker Folie, Deux. And I am so excited to talk about this movie because, man, there is some negative reviews going out right now. It is being totally panned. And you know, when it debuted in the Venice Film Festival, the reviews were mixed. You know, there was like some positive, there was some negative. But now that the general public has been watching it, it like has been pure negative reviews.
Hatred.
Yeah. So I am very interested to see how we all felt about this movie. I know it was one of our most anticipated movies. I think it was in all of our lists when we did that. I'm not sure if I remember.
It was.
But yeah, let's get going because
I was going to say, just before we jump in, I just wanted to explain to everyone real quick out there in YouTube land why we are on Zoom.
Yes,
I'm at the office. You guys
are the reason we're on Zoom is because Arturo is currently on his way to the hospital.
He's driving. He's
actually in the back seat. His wife is driving, even though she's in labor.
Yeah, I mean,
she's in labor.
She can handle it. It's fine. Yeah, no, we're really close to the baby, as I've mentioned in the previous episodes, how we were ramping up at the end of my paternity leave, aka when we're all taking a break as well for the holidays. But baby's really, I mean, baby could happen any day. And just given the distance from where we usually meet, I decided it'd be best if I stay home. And luckily, my fellow co-hosts were very gracious, and we're like, you know what? Let's all go on Zoom, guys.
Yeah.
Let's still have this conversation. And I'm really excited to discuss this film because there's a lot, as we kind of previously mentioned, about going into this film. And
yeah.
And Arturo, awesome. I can't see very well, but are you recording from the center of a black hole? Or is that just lighting issues?
I'm actually currently about to rob a bank. You see,
that
makes sense.
He needs the money to pay for the health insurance.
That's it.
In America, it's America.
Anyways, does it help if I move closer?
Huh? You look fine. I think you look good. Yeah. I mean, you do look like you're about to rob somebody, but who knows? All right, let's get going. Because we have a lot to get
to. We're strapped for time.
So who wants to go first? General thoughts.
I mean, I don't mind.
Go for it, Uble.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I'll go first.
Uble is going first.
Well, I first of all, I don't understand the hate. I actually enjoyed the movie. Bizarre. I think it might be because I walked in with low expectations because I did see some of the reviews beforehand. I know, huge faux pas, but I checked them out and I saw that there was mixed reviews, maybe even leaning more towards the negative side. And I thought, dang, how fucked up how bad did they fuck it up? So I was expecting just like trash, and that's probably why I actually enjoyed this movie. A few nitpicks, but very few. So I personally enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Okay.
All right.
Arturo, do you want to go next for me?
So, I want to bounce off of that. I think before jumping into my general thoughts, I think a lot of the we'll get into that later. Never mind. So my general thoughts is it is a beautifully crafted film. It feels more like an epilogue to the first Joker as opposed to a sequel. That's not necessarily a negative thing. But I think what really hurt it wasn't necessarily the fact that it was a musical, is the fact that I personally felt it didn't go all in on being a musical. Things didn't necessarily fit, in my personal opinion, and where they could have gone very grand, they chose not to. Wow. And because it's a very grounded film, it's a very grounded universe, when you're choosing to do something that can be as fantastical as a musical, like,
for
I think
her.
that's where it had a difficulty in like deciding what and how they were gonna approach that. And I think that's what hurt it. For the general public, I think it's just a matter of the fact that I feel there's been a current trend in Hollywood where musical films aren't being marketed as musical films, like the recent Willy Wonka, Mean Girls, and now Joker. So, and musicals aren't necessarily for everyone. So I think a lot of people went into it not realizing that, or now because it's just the hate train, that everyone can jump on. But my personal opinion is I did enjoy it, but there were elements that didn't quite work. And I have my a few other nitpicks as well, but I did enjoy it for what it was. It just didn't quite hit the mark that I was expecting it to.
Um, I think this movie is brilliant, guys.
Oh
Like,
shit.
Ooh.
We have all three sections.
when this movie ended, I had the similar reaction to like when Barbie ended. I think you were there, and I think I just said, "Man, I think this movie's genius," and
Yeah.
that is what I
Wow.
felt about this movie.
Really?
I do not understand the hate. I
Mm,
think people just are
I think I agree.
misunderstanding the point of the movie.
Yeah.
And the point of
mm,
the movie is actually very meta and very like and actually what's going on now with people sort of like turning their backs on Joker on the movie itself is very reflected of what's going on with Arthur
Oh
Fleck
yeah.
in the movie itself.
Yeah. This is true.
And it's brilliant. Like the more I see all the so now that I've seen the movie, I've like gone into all the reviews and gone into like
mm.
spoiler just to see what people are talking about and everything like that. And the more I see the conversation is the more I think, man, this movie is so brilliant. It's like the best Joker joke that's ever been done on the general public. And Todd Phillips has is like it's amazing. I really want to get into all the themes right away
Yeah.
because I think
Okay.
That's
there is so much going on here, and I disagree with anybody who says that. So I've heard some critics say like this movie doesn't go anywhere, like it's boring. The musical elements are like jarring and like distract, and I disagree with all of that. I was in from the beginning, from the first cartoon
yeah.
to
That was a really
uh
cool opener.
yeah,
Actually, I
to
thought that
the
was really
end
clever.
where I was like, I mean, there's so much going on, and it does go somewhere, and it's a continued character study on Arthur Fleck, and also it's like a commentary on the way the general public sort of reacted to the first movie and how the certain critics were thinking that it was dangerous and there were people who didn't really understand that Joker isn't someone to be put up on a pedestal or anything like that. And man, what this movie, I've never it's been a long time. There's some meta movies out there, but there's been a long time I've seen a movie that just like is is talking about itself, and and not only that, but it's also talking about like the comic book fan, and even almost a little what maybe I'm reaching here, but even like the way we look at cinema now and how everything needs to have a comic book sort of connection, a comic book character for us to care about a particular type of story.
Yeah,
And
you're reaching. You're reaching.
huh? Am
You're
I
reaching.
Yeah.
well, maybe we'll talk
And
about
you're
it.
also describing the more recent Scream movies that you refuse to watch, Sam.
Maybe I
Ooh.
haven't seen those movies. Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Gonna see
But
that.
yeah, I love this movie. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's going to age really well when people start revisiting again and watching it. After it ended, I wanted to watch it again. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like it was so good in my opinion.
I
Yeah,
think
Mm,
I think that this movie's biggest downfall was its predecessor, the fact that it was following the Joker. And
mm,
everyone walked, I feel like everyone's reviews that I'm hearing that are negative because it wasn't what they expected.
yeah,
Like they expected something and this movie was not that, and
mm,
therefore this movie is not good. And the movie should not be good or bad based on your expectations. It
yeah,
should be looked at as its own property, as its own storyline. And so one of the
mm,
main things that I was hearing is that the way Joker one ended, where you got the impression as the viewer that Arthur Fleck was finally embracing this character of the Joker. And this was him. Arthur Fleck is dead. It's this whole movie was this representation of how this guy is just down on his luck. He's had all the bad shit happen to him, and it's just a miserable life. And finally, at the end, society and society's caring or lack thereof of people with mental illnesses just drove him to insanity. He fucking lost it. And the movie ends, and he's like soaking in all of his admirers' applause. And it ends, and you're like, awesome. This is where he becomes the Joker. And then you have part two, and I feel like a lot of people were disappointed in the fact that the most of this movie, he is back to being Arthur Fleck,
Yeah.
the shy, timid, quiet pushover who's the guards are kind of ganging on him and people and the news. And it's like, oh, this is not where I expected this Joker to be. I expected this Joker to be more of the Joker and
Yeah.
less of the Arthur, and
Mhm.
that wasn't the case. And I see what you're saying, and I think that argument can be made. I think it's a subjective argument, which is that was the intention. The intention was to all these people that are admiring this character that they weren't supposed to admire from the first place. This isn't an outstanding fucking character. He's yes, he's troubled, but he killed five people. It's not someone that you should be
6.
admiring. Six, right? His mom. He definitely makes a
Uh,
point of reminding people that it was six, not
Killed his
five.
mother.
Yeah. But I feel like this was more a story of Arthur Fleck. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that. I had that experience where I was like, oh, we're gonna do more of the was this Arthur or was this the Joker storyline? Okay, cool. And that was it. I
Mhm.
adapted and I was like, let's enjoy this fucking roller coaster. It's not what I expected, but I'm strapped in. I'm on along for the ride. And I think a lot of people weren't able to do that. I think a lot of people were like, this is not the Joker I wanted. Blah,
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah, I mean, the movie wasn't what I expected either, but it
But
was
you
in a good
adapt.
way.
mhm.
Yeah.
Like I definitely thought it was gonna be a more like big musical pieces, as Arturo
Yeah.
was saying. But I actually,
Mhm.
what I disagree with you, Arturo, I actually like the fact that it was like they were trying to sort of ground the music, the musical elements in it, and you had the moments where it's in Arthur's mind, and then it becomes like a big piece, and it
Hmm.
changes the big production, and
Mhm.
then you have those moments where they're kind of like singing in the real world,
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
I hated that, dude.
I actually
It
was totally
was
fine with it, and I even liked the
no,
fact that they were
man.
singing badly during those things.
I
Yeah.
Like
hated that so
like
much.
Arthur is singing badly when he's in his real world sort of singing, and then
Yeah.
when he goes into his mind in the big production, he's like singing really well. Like Lady
Mhm.
Gaga is singing so well. Like there's everything looks fantastic.
There's instruments.
Yeah,
There's
I don't know. I loved all that. Like
I
I
like
thought I thought
No,
it
dude.
fit well. Like I would have been annoyed, I think, if we would have had like big musical piece after big musical piece after
elaborate
big musical piece after
choreographed.
big musical piece.
Dude,
Yep.
no, they see that's the I mean, in my opinion, like that should have been the thing. You have Joker and Harley Quinn, these two
Yeah.
characters that themselves are larger than life, that are toxic, that are so there's so much spark between them, there's so much romance, there's so much twistedness within them.
Was there?
And then
But this is different
the
though.
combo characters, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh.
individual
And
characters, yes.
yeah, and when you and then this film, yes, purposely it is grounded, but then like just the way it chose to do, like I didn't feel that, and they could have gone. Like I was as things were happening and the musical numbers were happening, I kept like imagining like something like Chicago style numbers, and
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
never quite hit that mark. Even though they chose to go fantastical, like you said, when they're in his mind and all that, like they had so much potential to hit the fucking ceiling with this. You have Lady Gaga. She was never fully taken like advantage of
It's
her
pronounced
talents
Lady
in this.
Gaga.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah, but
it
you know
I
what?
felt like it never hit that. It never quite hit that mark. And it could have. Like they showed us what like the tip of the iceberg. And that
Yeah.
was what was frustrating for me because I feel like they didn't commit to the musical element enough.
So
I don't know.
if
Yeah,
I
I mean,
may,
they definitely didn't. They did something a little bit more
That's
unique. I just
yeah.
felt it was more unique in that
No,
way.
I
Even the first number, which happens where it's technically in Arthur's mind, right? But he's just like
Mhm.
watching the TV. It's the first time he's had his first meetup with Harley,
lawyer.
right?
Oh no, no.
And he sings that Stevie Wonder song, I
Oh
believe it
yeah, yeah,
is.
yeah.
I forget
Baby
how does it
got
go?
back.
Huh?
Baby got back.
Yeah, that
That
was it.
I like
Yeah.
his butts and I cannot lie.
For once in my life, for once in my life, I
There you
got
go.
someone.
And see,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that did work. That was a good introduction to everything. So
Yeah.
from there on, like I
But
thought I was gonna keep getting higher and higher, but it
yeah,
didn't.
But
but
see,
they give you a taste there because he sings it badly,
Mhm.
and
yeah.
it's on purpose.
But
And but
it gets better as it keeps going. And then everyone joins in, and then like it raises like in my opinion that was a great number to get things started.
yeah,
But then it backtracked and it gave us those like talk singing moments that like I
Yeah,
just
they
couldn't take
were.
seriously. Like
So if I may,
yeah.
go for it.
um, I saw this as they were trying to convey visually the what goes on in a crazy person's head and what's happening in real life. So what this movie does and what Sam was mentioning earlier is like it'll show a scene where everyone's minding their own business except for the Joker and Harley or
Mhm.
just the Joker and he's singing in like no music, shitty voice, and then suddenly it switches to it's like they're all choreographed or his voice is better and he's doing a dance piece on the tables. And then it ends with him back in the cafeteria where no one else is paying attention to him. And it kind of, for me at least, I thought it was a representation of like, this is what a crazy person does in their head to
Hmm.
justify things or to, it might be that you see someone talking to themselves in the corner of the street and you're like, look at that crazy person talking to himself. But in his mind, maybe there's an elaborate fucking choreographed dance
Yeah.
number going on and you
Mhm.
have no idea about it. You just see him as like this crazy person. So that's kind of what I took away from that
I,
this whole
I,
Mhm.
movie. You're
I,
right. I will say that I was expecting more, Arturo. Like I was
Mhm.
expecting the huge dance numbers and the fucking orchestra and the like elaborate maybe even fucking confetti explosions. I don't know.
and
Yeah.
you really only get three of those, if I
Yeah,
remember
like
correctly.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and which was fine.
I was fine with it.
That's why I didn't think it was overdone because I feel like if we would have had so much, I would have been like saying this is overdone. Like,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know, I actually kind of like that, but I want to get back to a certain. I know we're not really mincing like we usually do,
no,
but
like we
Mhm.
usually know. It's
it's
travel
because the themes of this movie I want to get on the themes and then like touch on like scenes of what happened in the
Mhm.
movie. But I want to like remind everybody that Arthur Fleck isn't a reliable narrator, and that was
Mhm.
established from the first movie. So
hmm
I don't know how much of what we saw. Obviously, the
was
musical
actually
numbers are in his mind, but even some things that are happening in the real world, how much of it is actually really happening? How much is
yeah,
actually in his mind?
Mhm.
Whether even like is Harley Quinn's character even there at certain moments? Like there's that moment where Harley Quinn just shows up in the hole where Arthur is, and he's like, "Oh, the guard let me in." Like if that happened,
yeah,
if I'm supposed to take that as a real world event, then that actually makes me start feeling like, wait, how the hell did she do this? How did she
right.
get
Well,
through
we
all
find out
this?
later on that she can like she's obviously bribing the guards and she purposely committed herself in like that
Yeah,
was that whole thing. It
you
wasn't
do
necessarily
find
in his mind.
that
Yeah.
out. But it's just a lot of it feels like
They relied too
we
much on the viewer's imagination to make that
yeah,
connection.
I don't know how much is meant to be real and how much is in
Yeah,
Arthur Fleck's mind
Mhm.
because in this
yeah.
like in the first movie they reveal and tell you, oh, this whole relationship that he had
Was fake.
wasn't in his
It was a
mind, but when we're
flashback.
watching the movie it all feels very natural and it feels very
Yeah,
real
Yeah.
until they reveal it to you,
yeah.
and I started feeling like that with this as well. I also want to bring up another thing that you brought up, Uble, in that in the first movie you have this sort of what's the word
Ending.
logical movement from him being like this depressed man,
Yeah,
and he embraces the Joker character or anything like that. um I, I don't know how much, and I think this is going back to what maybe Todd Phillips' intention was to the second movie and how much maybe people misinterpreted what was going on in that first movie, in that he never was, the Joker. He was just a guy who was so messed up
The
that,
shadow.
he used this sort of, character as a way to kind of, get his feelings out, get what's going on with him, but he was never going to be the the crown prince of crime, the clown prince of crime, and he was always just Arthur Fleck, and that is, he
Yeah.
like says that in the courtroom, like, I'm just Arthur Fleck, like, I'm
Dude.
not this fantasy. It's always been a fantasy, and I'm just this guy. And
It's
you've all thought that basically, we all wanted
mm,
in this whole movie. It's like we all went to this movie wanting it to be. This is where I find it so brilliant. We all went into this movie, including
mm,
myself. I'm one of those people wanting, like, I want to see the Joker and Harley Quinn and see how demented it is, and maybe they start doing some crazy shit and everything like
yeah.
that. I also wanted that too.
Mm,
But then as I was watching the movie and and I started getting what it was trying to do and everything like that, it was kind of like pointing the finger back at us and saying, like,
mm.
you just want Joker. You don't want
Dude,
you don't want the story of Arthur
yeah.
Fleck.
See,
You don't, you
okay,
want
hold
the
on, hold on, hold on.
entertainment. You want
I
the spectacle.
I need to jump in here, dude,
Okay, go
because
jump in.
there's elements that you're saying that like I completely agree with. And here's the like I mean, I don't know if it was ever like properly stated, but I feel like there was a lot of talk when the first Joker came out of how like it basically felt like Todd Phillips really wanted to create this story of this character,
Hmm.
but whether or not it was going to be successful had a lot to do of like
Putting the
um
the Joker name
the
on it.
exactly,
Yes, yes,
exactly.
that's what I
And
was
and,
trying to get at.
and
Yeah,
like and if you watch the film and it's we've all agreed, we all love the Joker and it's an excellent film, but there is a lot.
you
Sorry
went
guys,
dark.
my way went out. There we go. There is a lot that
Batman.
it doesn't necessarily link up with the comic book version of the Joker that we know. He's
Oh,
not this mastermind. He's not this
yeah,
criminal
it's
warlord,
completely different.
crime
Yeah.
lord. Completely
Yeah.
different. Um,
Same with Harley.
and with this, sorry.
Oh,
Same with Harley, he
same with
said.
Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well,
way
see,
they
that's what I
changed
was
the
going to get
character.
to. So, like, there is that. So then this film coming in, and like, it is like him not like still being Arthur Fleck, and it's like it's not the. It almost felt like it was uh, yeah, like this was never meant to be that. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to verbalize it,
What you brought up is
but
what I was thinking
but
about, which is like,
mhm,
I think Todd Phillips is making this commentary too. Like I said in the beginning when I was talking about my general thoughts on comic book fans, maybe cinema, the culture in general today, and how, we want to hear these great stories, but only if there's a comic book character attached to it. And if
Yeah.
there isn't, we ignore
mhm,
all those movies. Like, would this movie, if it didn't have the Joker name, the original, right, and it was just Arthur Fleck, would it have been a
mhm,
billion-dollar movie? Hell no. Most
No.
people wouldn't have given it a chance at all, because
mhm,
they
Yeah.
don't want to see Arthur Fleck's story.
yeah,
They want to see the Joker story. And that's what current cinema is
mhm,
today. Even though they would probably, and Todd Phillips showed them, you would love this movie, and you
Yeah.
did love this movie, but I just had to put the Joker name on it for you to give it a chance and watch it.
And it's
And
funny because they make reference to his
mhm,
Joker movie a lot in
yeah,
the movie.
exactly.
They're
Like,
like,
oh,
did you really
well,
watch it 4 to 5
yeah.
times? He's like, maybe 4.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Gary at one point is all like,
The
that's
20 times,
that's
yeah,
too.
she's like, wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's brilliant of what
Yeah. Like he
it's
straight up tells you.
it's totally like telling us, the
Mhm,
fans, the people who go watch these movies, are like,
Chill.
you don't care about these stories, you just care about the character
Yeah.
name or whatever. And as soon as I tell you, oh, I'm no
mhm,
longer Joker, you guys are all gonna walk away, just like Harley Quinn walked away from Joker.
Yep.
Like, I
Dude,
was only here because I wanted
yeah.
Joker, and as soon as
He
you told me
denounced
you're
it.
not Joker,
Dude,
well, I'm sorry.
dude.
Boo.
If
Yeah.
if this had not been Joker Folie and it was just a film, like I would have enjoyed it a hell of a lot more. But because it's connected to these pre-existing
Yeah.
characters, whether or not you
Took
want to,
away.
there is a level of expectation.
That's true.
And
I can
like if
understand
you
that.
yeah, so like, but if you detect, because like that's been my biggest nitpicks is like just the depiction of Joker and Harley Quinn and how like there was chemistry, but there to me it lacked a big spark. and then again with like the numbers as I mentioned. But if you took those things away, you strip that all away, and just had these just Arthur Fleck and Lee, I would have enjoyed it a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
Because it would have been something like completely like that stood on its own, that was and it gave you this different story, and I would have actually enjoyed it a hell of a lot more had it not had the connection.
The fact that it does have that connection, no matter how loose it is, and I
Mhm.
think there's actually more.
It is loose.
Yeah, it's very loose.
Harley Quinn is a
But
very
the
different
thing is, like,
character.
it's if it didn't have that connection, it wouldn't have this sort of deep meta
Yeah.
message that's going on here
Mhm.
about what I'm talking about, like just
Yeah.
the comic book fan
Being
culture in
obsessed with it.
general. Like,
Mhm.
because you could even think of
I mean, well,
Harley
just dude. I mean,
and
yeah,
also the guys that the guy that's dressed up as Joker after the bomb hits the courtroom and everything like
Yeah.
that.
Big
As like
Mo.
the fans, the cosplay fans,
Yep.
like all these fans who are
Like,
just
hey,
like
we can, yeah, yeah.
put up these characters on a pedestal and like this is all we want and everything like that. It's
well,
I don't I found it to be brilliant yeah, you're right, it wasn't what I
On the nose.
expected, it wasn't
mhm.
what I thought it was going to be, but as the movie was going, like I bought into it
Yeah.
and
Same.
I enjoyed it and I
And
will say
speaking of the yeah, sorry. Mhm.
no, so I will say that the connection that it does make with the comic books and the Batman lore in general is really cool at the end.
Harvey Dent.
Yeah, you have Harvey Dent, but it's really cool at the end of what's happening. I know
Dude,
we're
yes, and
skipping.
that's what I wanted to jump into. Yeah.
You want to get
Yeah,
in, or
it's
you
just
want me
if
to
I may, just because
go for
when
it?
you were saying about like we're seeing like the people dressing up like him, and we're seeing this like the effect it has on the bigger world, and one of them was this huge fan that was in the asylum with him. And
Yeah.
what happened when Arthur says like no, they're like there's no Joker, like his whole world was shattered, like all the fans' lives were shattered when like
Yeah.
this isn't just the Joker. And
Yes.
Yeah.
the way the film ended, I know a lot of people have had issues with it, but I actually thought it was pretty brilliant because
I
it's
thought
like
so too.
It
that's
was
it.
brilliant,
There's
man.
no where can this go? This is not going to
Yeah.
be a franchise. This isn't gonna
Exactly.
2, 3, 4. Like, and the fact
Exactly.
that after he kills Joker, the dude straight up gives himself a Chelsea grin, like Heath
Yes.
Ledger's Joker.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and it
He's
toys with the idea
laughing
like who is the
maniacally.
Joker? What is the Joker? Is the Joker an idea? Is it a
Yes.
character? Like, I thought that actually was really well done.
I agree.
Exactly. And it's actually and that actually really connects well with the comic book lore where I mean Joker
You
does
don't know.
have an origin story
Cool.
in the golden age of comic books, but in most recent
Mhm.
lore of the comic books, the recent era, he doesn't really have an origin story. And the whole canon thing
Uh-huh.
is that
And
I
it's on
think he's like
purpose.
multiple
Yeah.
people. I think there's like
Yeah.
multiple Jokers, I believe, in the
Yeah.
most recent era
He
of
Yes.
says
comic
so
books.
himself. He wants
Yep.
it to be multiple
Yep. Yep. Yep.
choice.
Yeah, yeah,
The Killing
exactly.
Joke.
And this movie, even though Arthur Fleck is not the Joker, he is the inspiration, I guess, of this
He's a
idea
spark. He's the
that maybe
spark.
the guy who kills him becomes the next the Joker or whatever that might end up fighting the early version of Batman, who then maybe another Joker comes around and whatever it might be.
Well,
It's setting
and
up the
it's a direct
Gotham
callback
world.
to the first film when Joker's chaos is what causes the death of Bruce Wayne's parents. It wasn't
Yes,
necessarily Joker himself. I
Yeah.
thought that was a
yes.
really cool callback to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
also
true.
like everything that's going on with Gotham at this moment, it's like all a setup really to put Gotham in this corrupt, messed up sort of
Fact.
situation where you have
Mhm.
an entire general public who hates their government, they're ready to revolt and everything like that because of what's going on with Arthur Fleck. And I think in that sense, it does connect really well with what the Batman lore is, and not in the
Mhm.
sense that this was going to be, the world when Batman exists, but maybe like what happened before Batman came around in those years while he was a teenager, while he wasn't doing anything, maybe still going to
Mhm.
school
Like
or
what
whatever.
Yeah.
caused the decay of Gotham?
Yeah, what caused the decay of Gotham, and this was one of those stories. And Arthur Fleck, who was this,
Yeah.
poor loser guy with a mental illness and everything, was such a spark in it. And maybe he is forgotten all these things, and we've all forgotten him. But this was his story, and I don't know, I loved that. I loved this was so much not what I expected, but it was something that I have been thinking about for like the past 2 days since I
Oh
saw it.
shit.
I think it's
Nice.
brilliant, man. It's fucking
Would you?
brilliant. I don't understand the hate. These people are just not God. It's just
Yeah. What do you think? Two questions. How are we on time? And what did you think of the performances? Because there was also
We don't have that with. We have six
Well, we
more
already
minutes left.
decided that we were going to jump back into it and
Yeah, if we
splice
still
them
have more
together.
to, if we
if
still
we
have
need
more to
to.
talk, we'll jump back into it.
Okay.
Uh,
No.
I mean, I think the performances. You guys already know I find this a brilliant movie. I think the performances are great. Joaquin Phoenix, I think, was even better than the first movie, in my opinion.
Dude, his body transformation was that wasn't that was prosthetics, right? That
No, I
had to
think
have been.
that's
Oh,
yeah. He lost
But
the
how are
weight.
his fucking
yeah.
shoulder blades so fucked up? Is that Joaquin Phoenix just having fucked
Perhaps
up
there
shoulder
might
So
have
what
been
blades,
some
happened
or
is someone
enhancements.
punched him really hard in the back, and then
yeah, happened to me too.
I
Yeah,
don't know
his
about the
shoulder
shoulder
blades
blade
were
aspect, but I
weird.
do know he lost the weight again. And this
Yeah,
time,
He did.
Phoenix
Yeah, it's
himself
in
was
his
like
face.
refusing to talk about it in interviews because, like,
Oh
I
shit.
spent so much time talking about it the first time around instead of the
Yeah.
actual film that I'm not even going to discuss this like this time around.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I also read about that as well.
Lady
Um,
Ga Lady Gaga, Harley Quinn's changes. Like that was one of the things where I was like, I wish they hadn't changed it to where she was just,
She was
a
so far detached
spoiled.
from her character, she could have
Yeah,
been just had a different name and it would have been the same.
it would have been the same. It was just a
Mhm.
fan, a super fan. It wasn't, a clinical psychologist. I know she had her PhD, I think they talked about.
yeah, they
They
said
may have
that she
mentioned it.
was she
You mentioned it
had
in
Yeah.
taken
passing.
psychiatry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she had
But
the
like
PhD or not.
that's not why she was there the way it was in the original storyline where she meets the
She's an
Joker
obsessed
as
fan, right?
she's
Yeah.
a obsessed
And
fan. She
like
was
even then,
straight
like
up said to
there's
him,
always like you can always open things up to like artistic interpretation, but she was just so
yeah,
far removed from the character that we know. Whereas
That's
even
yeah,
with
true.
Arthur Fleck's Joker, as being again, as we just mentioned earlier, there are like a lot of differences between comic book Joker. There's still a lot that is resembles it or is the same. Whereas Harley
yeah,
Quinn was or Lee was even just calling her Lee, it felt so far
yeah. I didn't like
detached from
that.
the
Yeah.
character. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that this could also be seen as an origin story for Harley Quinn in the sense that, yeah, maybe
Someone
she's
else.
not Harley while she's with Arthur Fleck,
Yeah,
but she goes on to find whoever the next, Joker is going to be, and maybe, yeah, I accept that criticism, and I think it's fair. But again, I just wasn't bothered by it. Like what
Mhm.
I might have been bothered by it if the movie didn't have such a impact on me and what I thought like was very deep
yeah.
themes and things that I've never really thought any other movie has really touched on in this way.
But you can
Um,
see why other people would have that
yeah,
big of an issue with that.
yeah, I can see it. I just, it's just, I feel like I don't like it that people went into it like this is not
But I
like
expected.
this is not Joker or Harley, so therefore, like, I'm just not gonna give it a
Yeah,
chance.
yeah. Dude,
And and also like
unfortunate.
I think people are overly offended by it for
Mhm.
some reason. Like I've heard some criticisms be like Todd Phillips is trolling the fans. Like Todd Phillips doesn't care about it. He wanted to give the finger to the fans. Like
That's not.
and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah,
I didn't feel that way. Like
Mhm.
I understand his point, and it is
Yeah.
talking about the fans in a certain sense, but I wasn't offended by it or feel like he was giving me the finger. I think that maybe Todd Phillips was so troubled by the way people interpreted the first film that
yeah,
he wanted to make this movie to kind of just really ring it home to everybody. It's like you
Mhm.
guys didn't get it. Like
yeah,
Arthur is not someone. He's not a hero in any way whatsoever, or even like a anti-hero is really the right thing. He's not an
Mhm.
anti-hero. He's not
yeah,
like the critics were saying it's dangerous. Like I think he was very troubled by that. Like it's not dangerous. I think for him it
no.
was very clear that we shouldn't be like
Yeah.
out there
Putting these on
burning
a
things
pedestal.
and I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I hear
My
you.
favorite part was his foghorn, longhorn impression as a
Oh
Southern lawyer
yes, yes.
representing himself. That part just got a laugh out of me, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. It somehow I found it hilarious and I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and there was some touching moments with the little guy, Puddles.
His name is
yeah,
Mr. Puddles.
Puddles.
His name
His
is Richard
name
Puddles.
is
I'm sorry.
Mr.
Gary
Puddles.
Is
Puddles.
that really your name?
Is
Come
that your
on.
God-given name, Mr.
And
Puddles?
then you see on his little notes, it literally asks Puddles question
Yeah,
mark. Like that was
question
so
mark. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
Joaquin had some good moments as Joker.
Mhm.
Like those
Yeah.
moments were good for him as and I love the best musical piece is the
Number.
one where he's in the court and he's singing the song The Joker. There's a song that he's an actual song and I went and looked up the lyrics for that song and it's like very relevant to what's going on in
Nice.
the movie. This is a song that was written like in the 60s or something, I think.
I
And yeah, that whole scene where he's like he closes his eyes. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? And then he's
yeah.
like he's in
Yeah.
still in the courtroom, but he starts killing the lawyers, and
Yeah. When he gets it, Harvey Dent, he like literally beats him to death right there.
yeah, and then he
Yeah.
beats up the judge, and then he shoots himself in in the head.
Yeah.
That I love that whole musical piece there. That was
Mhm.
great.
I was expecting Lady Gaga to break into her paparazzi song just because it fits so perfect with this movie
The
because
paparazzi song.
she's his biggest fan and she'll follow him until he loves her. Anyway, yeah, there was one point where the musical numbers, at least for me, was like, okay, we didn't need that one song. That one song was maybe
Which
one
one
too
was that
many.
one?
This is towards the end, and I think he's like in the hallway of the jet of Arkham or something.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't break away to, is this in his imagination? Is this real life? Is there other choreographed people singing and dancing in this? It's just him standing in an alleyway or a hallway, and he sings this song with no instruments while he's having a cigarette. And it was like, all right, no, I want to know more about this story. We're close to the end. I need my
Hmm.
closure. Stop with the fucking songs. And I want to say a few minutes after that, I want to say a few minutes
There was
after
another one.
that, I think Lady Gaga comes in with another one. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I just fucking want the movie now. I'm
Is that
I'm
where
done with
she's
the
putting the
singing.
makeup on and
I
she's
think so
singing?
because it's towards the end. It's towards the
Ah.
end. I think like he's already fired his lawyer. I think he's probably either getting
Oh, are
ready.
you okay? Are you talking about the one where he's calling singing to her on the answering machine?
It might be. Yeah, it might be that one.
Really? Oh, I thought
Um,
that
I
one
don't.
was one of the better ones too. Man,
no,
damn.
I also
There's
didn't
I
care
don't know if
for
it's
it.
that
I
one.
was
I
like,
don't
Oh
know if it's
man,
that
like
one. I
I
just
just
know that
loved
there's
all of
one
them, I
where
think.
he's
I
just
was like
standing.
again.
Yeah, yeah. But that was my only. Honestly, that was my only kind of thing. Was at one point it felt like two or three songs were unnecessary and could have been skipped. Two or three.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it, man. Other than that, I didn't mind the story. I didn't mind the fact that this was more Arthur than the Joker. I liked the fact that this was all revolving around the trial where his first a lawyer was trying to prove that the Joker and Arthur were two different entities and fucking, everything
Mm-hmm.
just seems to be working against them. I liked that aspect of this movie. I didn't mind it. I was like, yeah, that's what would happen following the events of part one is there would be, they would catch him, they would have this trial, and they would plead insanity, and they would have to prove that. And then Arthur just goes and fucks everything up. So as far as story goes, I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Acting fucking great, cinematography great, everything
Oh
except
yeah,
for
the
the songs.
cinematography was fantastic, just
It
as
was,
good
it
as the
was
first one.
gorgeous. There were so
Yeah,
many scenes where I'm just like, wow. And
Yeah, it was
dude, like
beautiful.
how like I mean, the first film did it too, but the romanticizing of smoking cigarettes is done
I felt like having
so
a, I
well.
felt like having a
Like
fag
I
after that for
I
sure.
personally haven't smoked since like my wife was pregnant with my first boy. But if I got the chance to smoke again, I'm definitely gonna lean all the way back and do all
Yeah.
that crazy
And,
shit.
and
And
also
it looks
that
awesome.
yeah, and that there was another musical piece where he's in the blue suit and he's like leaning back and Harley's like playing the piano and he does a dance and
Yeah,
everything.
I
that was
did
my
like
favorite
that too.
number.
I
That
did
When he's
was
like
like tap
great.
dancing and all that. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
my
Yeah.
favorite number.
man, I just yeah, I wasn't bothered by that. And I'm trying to think of a moment where I was bothered by the singing, and every single time I always felt that it was appropriate. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Toot Hill.
I know that song you're talking about when he's on the phone, and I like that song. Like
Again, I
he's
don't know if it was that one. I just know that it was one where it was just him
yeah,
singing
I
in the
think it
dark
was.
hallway with the spotlight behind him towards
there's
the
a
end,
spotlight behind him.
like a light.
Oh, that's no, that's a different one where he's like on a stage, right? He's
Yeah,
he
and it's
puts
not it's not it's not like a singing even. It's more of like spoken word.
Yeah, I think that's right before he's about to
I think
give
you're
his
mixing it up
closing
with real
statements.
life when Joaquin Phoenix was rapping and then he fell off stage.
No, I never saw that. I never saw that.
You
Did that happen in real life?
Oh shit, yeah, dude, that happened like in I
That
don't know,
was
like
when he was trying to
2001,
be he was playing that
That one alter
2004,
character, right?
ego.
3.
Yeah.
When he was on
Yeah,
Letterman, remember that?
it was like
I
a whole
remember
thing.
that.
Yeah,
People were so
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went full on right there. That guy. He
Yeah.
doesn't break character. And
went full method.
yeah, he went
Other
full.
other than Two-Face, was there other than Harvey Dent, there was no other Batman character that showed up, right?
No,
Like
I
a
was half
Alfred or Gordon.
after the movie ended, I double checked on like IMDb and Wikipedia because I thought maybe the guy who killed him was Victor Zsasz, since he's such a common like B-list villain to
Yeah.
use for that kind of thing. But it
And it
was just
wasn't.
Harvey Dent.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you
No.
had Mad Eye Moody, Banshees from in here, the
What?
actor,
Yeah, Benjamin and Sharon. Yeah,
Minister, the guard, the
Oh,
security guard.
yeah,
Mad Eye
yeah,
Moody.
yeah.
yeah.
You needed to hear him say Podrick in order for you to remember.
Yeah, like,
No,
are
no,
you,
no.
you Fallon?
Yeah,
You're
he was
Fallon?
good. The
Yeah,
the guards were all good. They were
the acting was
nice and
phenomenal from
terrible.
everyone. It really was.
Huh?
I
What was
said
that?
that the acting was great from everybody. It was phenomenal, in
Yeah,
my
acting
personal
was
opinion.
great.
Everyone brought
Yeah.
it. Like, I do have my reservations against not hitting quite the mark I expected from Joker and Harley, but acting wise, everyone brought their A game. It was beautifully shot, like we've all mentioned. The cinematography was gorgeous. I really enjoyed the story, but for me, just the musical numbers didn't always land.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that was the thing that hurt it the most for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have any other
Um,
comments.
Yeah,
yeah.
and then like the stuff I mentioned about Joker and Harley Quinn, but we've already talked
Kind of
about it.
talked about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there any other points you guys want to bring up?
I don't think, but no, I, all in all, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good story.
Okay. Sure.
The
Right.
scene where I'll mention this, the building explodes. I was not expecting that at all. I was like,
Yeah.
oh
And
shit. And for a split second, I mean, I don't know if it was done on purpose or not, but it reminded me so much of the ending of the first Suicide Squad, where a Joker shows up to break out Harley Quinn. And I thought that's what was happening for a sec. That Harley
oh,
Quinn planned the bombing and was like breaking him out for them to go lead their life on their mountain or whatever,
yeah.
to
Yeah.
build their
I thought that
mountain.
too. I thought that too.
Yeah. And then it turned into that epic chase sequence.
Yeah.
I thought for
Which
sure they were gonna show Harvey Dent like
I
from that
I
explosion have
they
half
oh
did
burst
they
face.
did kind
he
of
was
show it.
scarred. It wasn't
Oh,
like it wasn't a complete, like the comic book version that we're used to, but like the eye was red and there were scratches all
Yeah.
over his
Yeah. He was
face.
scarred on one
maybe Todd
side.
Phillips. Todd Phillips will tackle Two-Face
You
in the
know,
next
now that
installment.
we're talking about
No.
that scene, I think that's what maybe some people were saying about like it being boring, where that was the only scene that had like, I mean, the first
Action.
film isn't necessarily an action film at all, but like it had these moments of like, I guess, kinetic energy, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
There's movement, and the first film, yeah, it had all the murders, and that's probably it.
I heard that.
But the second film did lack that up until the end, and that
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
mean, there's still a lot of implied violence that, I mean, for example, the main reason why I think Arthur Fleck decides that, I guess snaps
Oh
out of the
yeah.
I
Joker
mean, yeah,
is he gets like
I,
beat up, and I'm not even sure if he's
his
raped or I
friend.
don't know what the hell happens to
it
him, but
seemed like it, but like you just said so yourself, that Sam, it was implied violence. Like the first film
yeah,
showed us
No,
that, and I
it
think
was
that's what detracted some people, like thinking it was boring compared to the first one.
yeah, you don't
I
get the full on getting shot in the face.
yeah.
Although you
The
do have that
part
in that musical piece where he's imagining
Oh
killing all
yeah,
the lawyers and everything like that.
I think the
But
part that broke the Joker was the part where his friend starts singing. Remember the one he kisses? He's like, "Oh,
yeah,
the guard said
oh
that you
yeah,
can teach me how to kiss." And then at the end of the movie, he's singing
all the
uh
saints.
all the
No,
saints. You
it's when
hear
they kill him. The guards kill him. The
right?
Yeah,
guards
That's what I'm
strangle him
strangled.
to
saying.
death.
Yeah.
That's when
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they
because
kill
you can
him
see
and
that's
they
when like
show
Joker realizes the consequences of
face
his
down.
actions almost.
Yeah,
Or
Because
like
yeah, yeah,
Arthur,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Arthur.
he's still joking and making jests as he's being thrown into his cell.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then he lays face down and he hears the guards go to
Yeah.
that guy's cell. They're choking him and they make a point of playing that audio, which is like, dude, that's enough. You can't breathe. Come on, stop
Hmm.
it. Oh no, and then you hear the body drop, and you hear them say like he's gone, and I think that's where the
And they
Joker's face turns into like this is not a fucking joke. This is
Yeah.
not. This has to stop. I'm fucking Arthur Fleck. People are dying. I'm done. And then the next
It's
day after
yeah.
that is the court trial, and that's when he's like, "Fucking,
that's
this
when
is
he
a
gives
this is."
in and
And then
basically admits to
Lady
everything.
Gaga gets all mad, and she storms out, and
Yeah.
for the explosion. So
Uble,
I feel like that's what did it. Yeah.
have you by any chance seen the Harley Quinn animated series?
No, I haven't, but I've heard so
Oh,
much good
I've seen
things
a
about
couple
it.
it's
episodes.
so good. It's so, but you're
Uh,
pronouncing Lady Gaga the way they do at some point.
do they?
There's a scene.
I'm doing
It's
it
a
because
whole
of
thing.
K-Rock. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's
Ubler's been doing
Clayface.
that since I've met him. I feel
That's
like
true too. You
Yeah.
mispronounce things all the time, but
yeah.
Oh,
without wanting to, you're doing it the exact same way they do.
Correction,
I
Lady
do want to
Gaga.
bring up one more thing before we end this, in which is it's a good segue because you brought up Lady Gaga. Is that Harley Quinn, and I know that she's not anywhere near like the comic books, but what they did change is that she's the dominant person in this relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She's constantly
the manipulator.
manipulating Arthur, right?
Mhm.
And which is more of a clue of like how he's not the Joker, right? It's just
Yeah.
that he is this very weak person, easily manipulated, even when the lawyer tells him about the lies that she's been telling him, right? It's very easy for him to get back into that delusion of like, this person loves me and everything like
Yeah,
that. And yeah, and yeah, I found that to be interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, all of that stuff I enjoyed. Man,
good.
this
All right,
is
let's grade this sucker.
let's do it. Let's do it.
All
Who
right.
wants to
You
go
go first.
first?
Uble.
No, I started with my general thoughts first, so
We're
you
going
guys
in
go with
order.
your
Arturo.
grades first.
I'll
Arturo.
go first. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned it not too long ago, actually, because I felt like we were wrapping up at the end. But story-wise, acting, cinematography, I thought was all incredibly well done. For me, it suffered in the sense of not quite giving into the musical aspect, for my personal opinion. A lot of the numbers were jarring. It didn't quite hit the level I thought it would. And it's missing some of the electric chemistry that Joker and Harley so require. But again, if you strip those things away, I would have appreciated it more. But because that is the film that we have and it is connected to these pre-existing characters, it does fall short for me because of that. And ultimately, like I said, I did enjoy it, but there are things that hold it back. And I'm giving it a B plus.
That's
It's
not
pretty
not a
good.
bad grade. It's a good grade. You want me to go, Sam?
Go for it, Uble.
Same thing. I would say that even though I was able to quickly adapt to this movie not being what I expected, it still fell short as Mr. Puddles in that witness stand. It fell a little short. I needed a phone book to prop this movie up to my standards.
Oh, shit.
But even then, I still gave it a good grade. I had to squeeze in a little person joke here and there, man.
I
Oh,
like it.
Um, I still felt like you said, Sam, all the like what the messages were at least implied, um, and what Todd supposedly or presumably was trying to convey in these movies with, you just care about the Joker, and the Joker is just a shadow of the people around him, and it's not actually Arthur, and it's all of that. I think is strong enough for me to also give it a B plus. Maybe even an A minus. No, I've been giving too many A minuses, but that's not a good reason to not give this movie an A minus. You're right. I'm gonna give this movie an A minus. I think this
I like that
movie
conversation you just did with
gets an A
yourself.
minus. Yeah, I
it happened in
skipped
real
over
time.
you guys. Yeah, I skipped over you guys having to say anything because I knew that's where it was gonna go. But yeah, even though I've been giving a lot of A minuses, this movie, it wasn't the great that I expected it, but it also wasn't the fucking trash that the internet is trying to make it seem.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with an A minus.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, the internet I think is messing up right
Too
now.
harsh.
Um, like I said, I think this movie is brilliant. I really have been thinking about it and what it's trying to say and its themes, and what it's saying about the general public as movie going fans, comic book fans, how we interpreted the first movie, and it really actually cleared up that final scene in the original movie. You know, where we go back and he's being interviewed by the other psychiatrist, and
Yeah.
he's just laughing, and the psychiatrist tells him like, "What's going on? What are you thinking
It's
about?
like you wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get it." And it's like the joke has always been on us. The joke has always been on us. He like I think what was going on, what he was trying to say in that last scene, Todd Phillips was saying like, you guys, this isn't the Joker. This is just Arthur Fleck's
Yeah,
story. And this movie was just like basically trying to explain that final scene
yeah.
in the Joker, in Joker, the original Joker, and basically telling us like, see guys, he was never the real
Got you.
Joker. I tried to
Yeah,
tell you, you
got
didn't
you,
get it.
bitch.
You better get it now because
Took
it's
3
on your
years.
face.
Got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that in a beautiful paradox that this movie is that even though this is not the Joker story, right? What the movie did by sort of doing this to the fans, it was like a perfect Joker joke. It's like
No, I get
it's
it.
and it's the fact that I see that and that's how I take it. It's like, yeah, you caught the essence of the Joker in just by making this movie and basically, telling the fans the joke is on you. This was never the origin story of the Joker that you
Yeah,
thought it was, and
got you.
it might have been just like the origin story of the guy who kills
Who
him at the
inspired
end.
the Joker? Yeah,
Like,
the
that
guy
was
who
his origin
inspired.
story, which
Yeah.
it just included all of Arthur Fleck and how it inspired him, and now he's the guy who's the Joker. So yeah, I love all that. Yeah.
Oh, great. He
I
was
haven't had an
great.
A+ this year. This is my first A+, and I
Oh
know, that
wow.
come my top 10, everybody's gonna tell me that I'm crazy, that
Yeah.
that Joker Folie Do is in the top 10, but it's gonna be there. I don't know if it'll be my number one. Still a lot of movies left to go, but it's my first
Oh
A+. It's the
man.
first movie this year that came out like feeling that cathartic feeling that I love to
Yeah.
feel in movies. I don't know why people hate it so much. I've never disagreed with not just the critics, but the audiences. Like, this is both
Damn.
audiences and critics have gotten negative reviews. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Maybe,
I
maybe,
could
yeah,
be that I'm
maybe
wrong, but I can't
us
stop thinking about the
morons,
movie.
me and Arturo are starting to affect your taste in movies. Now you're like, your rating scale is all skewed.
No, it's my grading scale is not obscured. It's just
Hey,
this
quick
happens
question.
sometimes. It's great because we had that critics episode which hasn't aired, but it will air, and we talk about Joker
Well,
Folie Do before it came out, and yeah, this is like a big contrast with what the critics are saying and
yeah.
Hmm.
what I felt about the movie. But yeah, all right,
All right.
guys,
What's the
please.
grade calculator? I know
Oh,
you're
what is the
probably
great
I mean,
calculator?
told
I don't
to.
know if I have
Yeah.
to like leave the app to do. Let me see. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh,
Oh
all right,
no, you're
cool.
gone.
I'm gone. Okay. I'm
Oh
getting
wait,
the
but
grade
wait,
calculator.
but you're still there. We can hear
I can
you.
still hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. That's true. All right. So Uble, your grade was an A-.
A minus,
All right. Sam was
B
an A+,
plus, and you were a B plus.
You
and
a B
I
plus. I
was
think
a
it's an A
B
minus. It's gonna be the
plus.
average.
I
I
think it's gonna
can't
be
do
a
math.
C. I'm not good at math, but it might be a C.
Let's see. All right, A-, A+, B+. Calculate. Our final grade is an
A
A-.
I
minus.
told you. I told you. I told you.
You got
A
it
minus.
right, Sam. You're good
All
at math.
right. A minus is what we give Joker Folie a do.
How do you think it's gonna
Uh,
do in the awards? You think it's gonna
I don't
really come
think
through with
it's
any?
going to get anything
Uh,
because of how much it's been panned. Usually
been hated at.
you have to have
Dude,
some group like the movie,
yeah.
whether it's the audience
It's
or whether it's the critics.
some group. Just
Yeah,
doesn't
like
you can
it can't
fall
just
under
be
any of
me.
those. It's
It
dude,
can't, I'm
I
the only
can't
one.
believe
I'm
you
gonna
know
be standing for Folia Do for the rest of my life, I think, and I'm gonna be the
Oh,
only
nah.
one sitting on this pedestal.
You know how I knew I know that the critics and the audience is wrong? This got a worse grade than Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I
And
haven't
I
even
don't
seen
feel
that,
like
so
that's possible. Exactly. That's the part
what
two of the
is the score
Fantastic
right
Four.
now?
I don't
Let's see.
understand. Like,
D. It's a D minus or something like that
Because
for
I
this
did
movie.
See, I know I saw that on.
Oh,
I know it was
you're
rotten on
still
Rotten
gone.
Tomatoes.
By the way, you're still gone. You have to open up your Zoom. Oh, are you looking it up?
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
look it
know.
up.
This I don't. This
I
movie
remember
is so
when I was buying
goddamn
my movie
unique,
tickets,
though.
it said it was rotten.
This movie is so goddamn unique.
Ooh.
And all the criticism that was on the first one, they're saying like how it was derivative of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Like this movie is not
Yeah.
like any movie you've ever seen.
That's
Like,
true. I'll give it
and
that.
no one had no. This took a lot of balls to make, and there's just so
Yeah.
much balls in this movie. God damn it, there's
So
so much
many.
balls.
Did we watch the same movie? I don't think I ever saw
No,
Tesla
no.
with the same movie.
All right.
It
All
has
right.
a 5.3 on IMDb right now.
What is it? Joker
That's
Folie
neat.
2?
5.3. 5.3.
5.3? Wow. Yeah.
That's low.
That's crazy, man.
And Joker has
Joker's
8 point
low.
something.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope that time will be kinder to this movie because I think it's worth it. I'm hoping 10, 20 years from now, people will look back and be like, God, this was a great
We'll
film.
We'll see. That guy recording from his closet was right about this movie. This movie is an A plus. By the way, just because it's gonna kill me all night, are those DVDs in your background, Sam, or are those books?
CDs. Those are CDs.
Shut the fuck up.
You
Those
were
are
wrong.
all of those are compact discs.
Yeah, that's my collection from when I was a teenager up
Wow.
until CDs stopped being a
Cool.
thing.
And I have to explain what that is to the younger audience watching on
Oh,
YouTube.
compact discs, as
Yeah,
Doodle said.
also known
Yeah.
as CDs.
It's where we used to put music on, you know,
Yep.
tangible, physical media.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
you
after
owned it.
mixtapes, before MP3s.
That's right.
Wow.
All right,
Okay.
all right, guys. Jokes on us. Let's take it out. Arturo, oh, please like and subscribe. Tell me how crazy I am and everything and all that stuff.
Oh, we are. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
as
think we're probably
always,
the only worth of Have a Dark Night.
Have a dark night. Fucking
You put me on the spot, God damn it.
you were talking when I was
kept
trying to say
talking.
goodbye.
I know.